Hi, and welcome to another episode of A Little Privacy, Please. My name is Jason Kravitz. I lead Nixon Peabody's cybersecurity and privacy practice, along with my partner, Jenny Holmes. And together, we're also the co-hosts of this video series. We've actually been on hiatus for about 4 months because Jenny had a baby. Congratulations, Jenny. And baby Sadie is now 4 months old, and she's doing great, and we are psyched to have Jenny back. Today, we're delighted to welcome a special guest. His name is Matthew Gerstenfeld, and he joins us from New York. Matt is the co-founder and CEO of a company called Munichain, which makes a great product that he's going to spend some time talking about today. Also joining us is our partner and occasional co-host of A Little Privacy, Please. He's from Nixon Peabody's Public Finance Group in Los Angeles, and that's Rudy Salo. So Matthew, tell us about Munichain, in particular, how the idea came about, what the product does, sort of hit us with the high level.
So Munichain was curated about 7 or 8 years ago when I worked back out on desk in the underwriting, sales, and trading side. And I realized there were so many parties involved in public finance, right? You have advisors, you have bond attorneys, you have banks and others. And it seemed that most of the technology originated from the 90s. And a lot of these parties were unaccounted for. So putting that all together, Munichain was really born as the connective tissue for the public finance market to hyper connect folks who would otherwise rely on other means of communication.
So, Matthew, I don't want to ask you to share your company's trade secrets with our audience, but what is it that makes Munichain so secure?
Sure. So we take the 10th dentist approach by challenging assumptions. And what I mean by that is we actually examine what we believe to be secure. And so we are probing for all the possibilities that could go wrong on our infrastructure. So some of those methods include access control reviews. What I mean by this is just ensuring proper permissions are in place. Also, penetration testing, right? This is a scenario where we are simulating attacks on our infrastructure to expose any vulnerabilities. And so in our heads, right, is if something appears to be secure or properly configured, we intentionally challenge that assumption to confirm its integrity.
Jason, Jenny, and I have been for a while now sounding the alarm for municipalities. We're very concerned for our infrastructure here in the United States. And unfortunately, something happened very recently in the state of Michigan. Not necessarily like on a utility per se, but it was pretty interesting. Like there was a competitive deal that got hacked, which is something we haven't necessarily been focused on recently. Can you give us a couple more details about what happened there?
Sure. So I'm in the same boat as you are, Rudy. I don't have all the specific details, and I believe it is still under investigation. But taking a wider approach, more of a 10,000 foot level, it seems that this incident actually stemmed from a lack of defense in depth. And what I mean by this is a single point of failure led to this entire system breaking down. So in theory, right, this often happens when cybersecurity is approached from a check the box scenario, right? You're dealing with other parties. Okay, we have a certain measure in place, but is it really concrete? Is it really a scenario where you have a sense of safeguard and security? So here, potentially, right, the minimum protection requirements were met, but they weren't expanded upon. And so one analogy I would like to use is my wife and I, we love to cook, right? But what I would say is one contaminated ingredient will spoil the entire dish. Same thing here. Within the working group, you have a myriad of folks who are conversing on email, and all it takes is one party to actually expose a vulnerability to the entire group.
I think it would be very helpful for our audience if you could identify maybe just 2 or 3 blind spots that you've seen from your perspective in the public finance industry in terms of cybersecurity and payment fraud, and how should these municipalities, what should they be doing to address these?
It really boils down to asset management, right? So many organizations fail to fully inventory and manage their technologies, right? You have a bunch of folks internally, right, who are working on certain aspects, and oftentimes things go overlooked. So why does it matter? Because you can't protect what you don't know exists, right? So these are basic security practices like multi-factor authentication, or conditional access control. But really, this is a major pivotal point and an inflection point of why we see a lot of folks engaging with Munichain, because we focus on internal productivity, right? But we also have the ability to securely pipe information out to other parties and remove that access instantaneously, right? As opposed to an email thread that could be sent around to as many folks, right? It's very hard to actually trace and manage. So that's what we're fixated on, and that's why we're seeing an uptick in interest from market participants.
So why do you think that municipalities have been so delayed in implementing this tech in a way that private industries aren't?
Really, I think the issue lies in over complex processes for a lot of these organizations, right? So you have too much red tape. It slows down testing. It slows down the implementation of new technology. So there is a solution, right? And the solution is to create a more operational space for technologists, specifically municipal finance technologists, right? And cybersecurity experts to actually come together and create a more dynamic infrastructure. So if you're able to actually work efficiently without some of the bureaucratic delays, you are reducing dependency on internal failure points, which again was a prime example of what we saw and spoke about a few moments ago.
I understand that this is still under investigation. Did you hack the city in Michigan? I mean, just come clean right now, because this is so great for your product that just the timing is just amazing.
Yes. I know I'm on the phone with attorneys. No, I did not hack the system.
Great. There you go. You're clean. You're you're blessed and fine.
Yeah, I'm not a coder, but whoever did hack the system, right? I would say that this has probably exposed a larger vulnerability to the market in general. And I think it also affirms that soft targets are readily available in this space. And now whoever it was, or entity, they're probably talking and saying, hey, by the way, this is possible. Let's start, potentially targeting other folks. How long can firms avoid the cost of implementing proper practices, right? And as that goes on, to your point, Rudy, I would make the case that spending a nominal fraction on Munichain, and again, nothing's 100% secure, but you are drastically reducing the actual vulnerabilities or gaps for threat actors to come in to your ecosystem, right? And it's monitored. So
let me lighten the mood just slightly. We're about to hit 2025. We're 2 weeks away or so. Maybe we go around the horn and talk about what our cybersecurity or privacy resolutions are.
I would say my priority in this sense is the simplification of understanding top priority safeguards in place for our organization and others. And if you start to get overly fancy with all the possibilities, you start to lose sight on the basics, right? One example could be managed devices, right? We have now gone into managed devices. What does that mean? Every single Munichain employee or partner must be on a managed device at all times in order to actually operate. I think that's also important for folks in the market, right? You should have insight and purview into how your firm is operating and be able to identify any mishaps very quickly.
I agree on the education piece. I think that we cannot overstate the importance of educating employees, educating each other on services and tech that's available. If we're not talking about it, that's when bad things are going to happen.
My resolution is to get asked on to co-host or guest host a little privacy please 3 times in 2025 rather than just 2 times.
It's like Saturday Night Live. We're going to give you a robe. We're going to give you a robe when you're a 5-timer.
I'd love a robe. I would love a robe.
I'm going to stop using my dog's name as my password. That's my 2025 resolution.
Wow. You just opened up the biggest threat to yourself by letting all those hackers know that are following you online how to get in there.
That's going to do it for this episode of ALPP. It is great to be back. Thank you, Rudy, as always, for joining us today. And thanks to Matthew from Munichain for spending a little time with us and sharing his thoughts on how we can make municipal deals safer.
Now we just got to figure out what the dog's name is.